It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All the sports news you need every day in under 20 minutes. Follow Locked On today on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. And coming up on today's show, I'm going to air a conversation I just had with Millard Thomas from Locked On D-Backs. Millard and I talk about today's dramatic comeback win. This podcast is going to come out late at night. I apologize for the weird timing today. Just a note that typically when there's a day game following a night game, the podcast on the day of the day game is going to come out after the day game. I hope that makes sense. But normally not this late, but a lot of you are probably listening to this on Friday morning. So anyway, we're talking about Thursday's dramatic comeback win by the Giants with the perspective of Millard Thomas of Locked On D-Backs as well. Poor Millard and his D-Backs are enduring a really tough season. But anyway, we get into the game, the series, and the Chris Bryant trade. This is a long conversation that's going to be cut down. We're also going to air the rest of it on Friday. We talk about the trade deadline as a whole and the impact in the NL West. So without further delay, I give you Millard Thomas from Locked On D-Backs.
All right, Locked On listeners, it's crossover time, as we always love to do here at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today we got Ben Kaspick on of Locked On Giants, fresh off the loss to his team today. We blew that game today. As we're recording this, it's 6:31 p.m. on a Thursday. The game was early this afternoon, and man, I was feeling good, going into the ninth inning. Merrill Kelly, 8 strong innings. This man has been dominant. The league disrespected him by picking pitchers like John Lester and J.A. Happ over him at the deadline. The dude has been balling over his last 8 or 9 starts, balled again tonight, but the bullpen in the ninth inning, Taylor Clark, fresh off the AAA, blew it. Just absolutely blew it. Giants come up clutch. Ben, how does it feel from your perspective? Because I want to say I'm devastated. I want to say I'm crushed, but this has just been the feeling the entire season.
This has just been a magical season for the Giants, and this was another one. They've done it to the D-Backs quite a few times this year.
Times.
I saw you mention that on Twitter. You can make like a top 5, and it would be a pretty robust top 5 kind of worst moments against the Giants. Crazy stuff, but yeah, I mean, the Giants really had no business winning this game, and that's what Chris Bryant actually said after the game. So, 4 runs in the ninth inning after trailing 4-0 going to the ninth. Merrill Kelly, I tip my hat. He was really, really good, and he's been good for a little while now. He's having a nice stretch, but bullpen comes in. Giants just had a miraculous comeback. So it's just been that kind of season for the Giants, and it's been that kind of season for the D-Backs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where this game would rank in that top 5, but it might be number 2. I might put number 1, that one game where Mike Yastrzemski hit that grand slam. I know you remember back in the San Francisco ballpark. I mean, just because the D-Backs, I think, were up, and then 10 minutes later, he's hitting a grand slam in the bottom of the inning, and he had that nasty look to it, the nasty walk. He put the bat down pretty supremely as well. So there's a lot of top 5 heartbreaking moments from just the D-Backs versus Giants series. And even if you look at this series, that first game, the D-Backs down 7-1 Monday night with Taylor Widener on the mound. He really struggled, gave up 5 earned runs in that one, but D-Backs had a miraculous comeback. They did what the Giants did today. They tied it up. They came back from 7-1, I believe, or it might have been 7-3. They tied it up 8-all, but in the extra innings, they couldn't do what the Giants did today. They lost. They won Tuesday's game on the back of Madison Bumgarner. Then they lost. Zach Allen started on Wednesday. So overall, D-backs lose 3 of 4. But hey, you got to say that they're a little feisty though, huh? Then they're at least feisty, a little competitive. It wasn't at least you took 3 out of 4, but at least it wasn't a rollover series.
We've been saying all year, including before the year, that this Diamondbacks team is not talent-wise the worst team in the game. I just do not see them that way. Even still, when they have by far the worst record going right now, it's just been one of those years where everything has, I guess, gone wrong. I don't watch every D-backs game. I'm sure you watch most of them, which has been tough.
Very tough.
Yeah, so it's just been, I mean, they've got some hitters, right? Like the offense grinds you down a little bit. D-backs have some talent there, and then some talent in the starting rotation as well. But the thing that kind of stands out to me as I heard you recapping the games was the Giants bullpen has been able to come up with zeros, and the D-backs bullpen has not been able to do that. Like today, Alex Wood did not have a very good start, but the Giants bullpen went, I think, 6 scoreless against the D-backs today, including they have some shutdown guys in the back end. Like Jake McGee kind of shoved in the bottom of the 10th there with that tying run automatically on second base. McGee struck out Christian Walker, I think it was, and then he just ended up getting through the inning unscathed, even though that tying run was on second with nobody out. So that really helps when you have a shutdown reliever. It would have helped the D-backs in the 9th inning today, but they go to Tyler Clippard, who looks kind of like a shell of his old self when I see him throwing 88-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Yeah.
But, Lamont Wade Jr. came up with a huge hit, which he has had a number of those types of hits this season. And he's a guy a lot of people probably hadn't even heard of coming into this year, including a lot of Giants fans. But they pick him up from the Twins in a trade, and he's been just enormously clutch. And that was one of the most clutch hits of the year. 2 outs, 2 strikes, and ends up hitting a 2-run single to tie the game. So, yeah, I mean, Giants are 69-40. So it's been a magical kind of ride.
Yeah, I mean, the D-backs were so close to getting that game. Like you said, 2 strikes, 2 outs. I was like, come on, Clippard. Let's do this. Let's split the series so I could go talk some crap with my crossover with Ben later, but they couldn't get it done. Taylor Clark, I mean, gives up 3 straight hits to start the 9th. You're like, oh, my God, here we go again. And like you said, it's really the story of the bullpen. The D-backs bullpen is by far the worst in baseball. I'm trying to find bullpen ERA here, but I can't really find it. But I know if you look at WAR, and I just know they have the worst bullpen. I've looked at like WAR and some other metrics, and every stat will tell you the D-backs have the worst bullpen in all of baseball. Right now, there's literally not a guy I trust in the bullpen. I'm trying to see who is the best ERA. I mean, we traded to Joakim Soria, like Caleb Smith. I guess he's a starter now. I'm looking at like when you go to Baseball Reference, it like ranks your next 5 bullpen guys after your starting rotation. Like Joakim Soria isn't there. Caleb Smith's in the rotation. Kevin Ginkel's on the IL. Mantipole's on the IL. We just brought back Stephon Crichton from AAA, and those are our next 5 after our starting rotation. Like those guys are not very good right now. Like there's not many dudes with ERA below 5 in the D-backs bullpen. Like it's really sad.
Yeah, so I just pulled it up, and they do in fact have the worst bullpen ERA in the major leagues at 5.43. The next closest team is the Rockies, who play, at Coors Field. So if you've got a worse bullpen ERA than the Colorado bullpen, which is not very good, it's not like they've got a bunch of great guys down there, then that's what we saw basically in this series, and I guess is what you've seen all year. But the Giants have a 3.34 ERA, which is 3rd best in the major leagues. And you said there's not a single guy you can trust. That's the worst feeling. The Giants have had bullpens like that in the recent past, and it's terrible because, you get a lead and you just don't feel like it's safe ever. But I would say, not to rub it in, but I would say that there's not a single guy I don't trust right now in the Giants bullpen. So they've done a really good job kind of putting it together, and every single guy who comes in, it feels like they have a good chance to throw up a 0. And that's kind of what we saw today, right? Like the D-backs were up 4-0, and the Giants had to go to the pen in like the 5th inning, and everybody who came in had nice clean innings, and it's kind of been like that all year. So, I know what it's like to watch a team with a bad bullpen. In fact, the D-backs, I don't know if you remember this, opening day 2017, the Giants had a 98 loss season that year, and it all started with a blown save by Mark Melancon against the D-backs on opening day. So I don't know. Bad bullpens are the worst. Stressed? Tired? Just don't feel like cooking? Food that's fast doesn't have to be fast food. Freshly offers quality meals without the hard work of prepping, cooking, and cleaning. And honestly, for me, this is a godsend because I can't handle any of that, prepping, cooking, or cleaning when it comes to making meals. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door, no cooking required. Grocery shopping and cooking can be a pain, totally, especially right now. And with Freshly, you don't have to. Your meals arrive cooked and fresh every week, so you can keep your fridge stocked and skip the trip to the store. Right now, Freshly is offering our listeners $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/lockedon. Stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/lockedon for $40 off your first 2 orders. That's freshly.com/lockedon for $40 off your first 2 orders. One reason to repair and maintain your cars is to save money that you can then use on more important things like the mortgage or food. So why would you choose to spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the exact same auto parts at a chain store or new car dealership? Random example, a fuel pump assembly for a 2005 to 2010 Honda Odyssey costs $353.99 at Advance, a big chain store, and just $216.79 at rockauto.com. Rockauto.com is for everybody and doesn't require membership or even account logins. Best of all, they're a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Yeah, Tyler Rogers has 11 saves. The entire D-backs bullpen has 14. And Tyler Rogers is the secondary closer for the Giants. He's not even their main guy. So he's got almost more saves than the entire D-backs team. And that's partly because the D-backs don't win any games. They have the lowest, save opportunity percentage. They're never in games to try and close it out. So that's why they have, the lowest amount of saves in all of baseball. The Giants, though, I mean, they're rolling right now. Where are they in the standings? I know they have like the best record in baseball, but what's their lead on the rest? They got a 4-game lead after today's win on the Dodgers. Like, how are you feeling right now in the standings? Do you feel like you're going to finish the season number 1?
I'm not there yet, but it helps to have a 4-game lead. And I mean, I'm afraid, I don't want to say afraid, but, we're aware of that Dodgers team. They are a great team. They have been for a long time, and they only got better at the deadline. I know we're going to talk about deadline deals, and they made some moves that put them in a good position. But, they're playing catch up. They could make that up in 10 days, so it's not like a 4-game lead is a 15-game lead, so the time is kind of starting to run out. I think we're starting to see the finish line here, but there's a long way to go. One thing, though, to keep in mind, the Giants and Dodgers don't play head-to-head much more at all. They only have one more 3-game series in San Francisco in September. So remains to be seen if that'll play a factor. But, no, I wouldn't even be secure if we were 10 days to go and you had a 4-game lead. That team can make it up quickly.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's counting the Dodgers out yet in this race, but Giants, I mean, they just keep chugging along. They keep winning games. The D-backs, before today's game, they had to go 18-36. They had to win at least 18 games of their next 54, I believe, to not finish with the worst record in franchise history. So they just had to win a third of their games the rest of the way. I thought today was going to be an easy dub for them after that Merrill Kelly start. Now we got to go, 18-35 or something like that. 19-35. Either way, we got to win, somehow figure out a way to win 18 games. So it's not even like we're asking them to play amazing baseball. If they just have like a 45% winning percentage, the D-backs can avoid the worst record in franchise history. But maybe we want the worst record in franchise history. I'm all about breaking records, good or bad. It's all about the publicity. I like doing the D-backs set that all-time road losing streak record, courtesy of your San Francisco Giants, because guess what? It's the only time the whole year the D-backs were headlining on the Sports Center ticker at the bottom. So any way to get the D-backs name more in the news, make them more relevant, I'm going to be happy about it. Overall series, it was competitive, but D-backs still lose 3 out of 4. Really, that Zach Gallen start was probably the only one that wasn't really a competitive game, just because the offense didn't show up and Gallen wasn't as sharp as he normally is. He hasn't really been that sharp the whole season, just kind of been battling with injuries in and out of the rotation. So that's all right. D-backs actually play the Giants. I'm looking at the schedule once again next week. They have a little 2-game series Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there. Any bold predictions for that one? Giants 2-game sweep? I think it's in San Fran too.
Yeah, so something that kind of gets under my skin actually is when people like who follow me on Twitter, they're talking to me about how the Giants like must sweep the D-backs in these 4-game series. That's not how baseball works. And like I keep saying, I don't think the D-backs are the worst team in baseball. I know they are record-wise, but they've got some players. And, Merrill Kelly is proving to be pretty good. And Zach Gallen has been really good in his career. And Bumgarner seems to have turned a corner a little bit. So if you've got those guys on the mound and they can be on any given night, and you've got Ketel Marte and you've got Pavin Smith and whoever else, they've got some athletic, talented players in that lineup. And I'm never just going to say you should sweep a team like the D-backs, but a 2-game series, I don't know. I mean, it's probably more likely than, 3 or 4-game series, but I don't know. No bold predictions. I think Merrill Kelly will be lined up to start one of those games though. Hopefully. So I'll be interested to see, can he keep it going? Because he's had some success against the Giants this year, obviously today, but at other times they've gotten to him a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully Bumgarner again. I'd be looking forward to that because there was no Posey and no Crawford in that start against Bumgarner. They've been really strict with resting Posey, and that was a rest day for him. So unfortunately he wasn't in there, but that would be the first time that they face each other because Posey didn't play last year. So hopefully at some point we get that Posey v Bumgarner matchup because, obviously the history between those two goes way, way back.
Yeah, hopefully. And Bumgarner looked locked in. I'm feeling more confident with Bumgarner recently than I did to start the season. Of course, he was pretty bad to start the season. Then he had like that 5-game span where he had historic numbers. And then he, came back to earth, had some injuries, went on the IL. But just to start this second half, he's looked pretty good. He's looked like maybe not the number one, not the guy we're paying for, but he still looked like maybe a number 3 starter. And he's given me some hope for next season. Zach Gallen's your number 1, Kelly and Bumgarner as more number 3, number 4 kind of guys, but maybe Taylor Widener could step up back to the plate because he was really good to start the season, but then he got hurt and he hasn't been good since coming back from the IL. The biggest question mark is Luke Weaver. I don't know if he's going to be able to pitch again this season. I don't know what his health status is, and he wasn't really pitching that well before he got hurt. So he's probably the biggest question mark. I got some hope in this rotation for next year, but the bullpen needs a major overhaul. Mike Hazen tried to address those problems this season, got Joaquin Soria. He's been traded. They got the guy who came in. Oh, Tyler Clipper. They got him to during the offseason too. Like you said, he's throwing 88-mile-an-hour fastballs. Like it's not working out for that guy. And they got Chris Davinsky. I think he's on the restricted list or something. Like he's not on the team either. So the big 3 reliever signings in the offseason have been complete disasters for the D-backs this season. So we'll see what they do next offseason. They're a team that doesn't want to spend money. So they might have to do the Giants way and kind of build on the margins because the Giants, that's what they've been able to do tremendously. I mean, guys like Del Scafani, Alex Wood, like I'm not entirely sure what their contracts were, but I don't think they were, overpaid during free agency. I felt like they got them on bargain deals.
Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. The baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and your UFC MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit using the promo code LOCKEDON. That's promo code LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at betonline.ag. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
David Harrison here, the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, celebrating with you a 21 grain salute to a less boring sandwich thanks to Dave's Killer Bread. I don't know about you guys, but when I eat pizza, I eat it for the toppings, not the crust. And when I eat a sandwich, it's for what's inside the bread, not for the bread. But when I throw a sandwich on 21 whole grains and seeds, thin sliced bread from Dave's Killer Bread, it is the epitome of addition by subtraction. That thin sliced bread lets me focus on what's inside the sandwich, but also adds to the sandwich with killer taste, killer texture, killer nutrition, a subtle sweetness, and a seed-coated crust. Dave's Killer Bread is America's #1 organic bread for a reason. It tastes so stinking good. Dave's Killer Bread is made with the highest quality organic and non-GMO ingredients and is power-packed with whole grains, fiber, and protein. Visit daveskillerbread.com to learn more and look for Dave's Killer Bread in the bread aisle of your local grocery store.
They did. They were both 1-year deals. DeSclafani was like 1 year, $6 million, and Alex Wood 1 year, $3 million. So pretty much bargain deals. And I think the tough position that the D-backs are in is that you're going to have to convince guys that this is the place they should come if they have a comparable deal. That's the situation. I mean, a couple of years ago, you could make that case because the D-backs were, scrappy and competitive. I think it kind of sold Bumgarner on going to Arizona. I saw his comments about just liking the way the D-backs play the game. And, he's a fan of being in Arizona. That's always a plus. A lot of players have homes in Arizona because of spring training. So it can attract certain players, certainly, because they get an extra month or two at home. But yeah, I think the Giants have done a really good job of it. They haven't really handed out massive commitments to anyone. And so they're kind of in a position of roster flexibility, yet they've been really good at targeting the right players, not just in the rotation, but also in the bullpen. And then it's just crazy how it's transformed from, we were talking about which of these teams would finish in third and which would finish in fourth. And now the Giants, here they are at 69-40. It's just kind of crazy how it's all worked out for them so far.
Yeah, Giants having a phenomenal season, and they still aren't getting Yastrzemski's having a solid year, but I feel like he hasn't taken off yet. Like, he has 18 home runs. He's got an 801 OPS, but I feel like he hasn't hit that level like we've seen the last couple of years, where he's basically been a top six MVP candidate for the San Francisco Giants, only batting .227 this year. You got Brandon Crawford back, right? He just came back off the IL. Donovan Solano, he's having a good season from a batting standpoint, but he's not like a huge major offensive contributor. But do you know anything about Evan Longoria's injury, if he's coming back anytime soon?
Yeah, so I think he's starting a rehab assignment in AAA tonight. So he is coming back soon. He injured himself in a really bizarre way. He collided with Brandon Crawford on a defensive play, and he dislocated his clavicle bone, something like that. And he's been out a while. I mean, it was a pretty serious injury. And they've also been without Tommy La Stella, who just came back for this series. He was out since May 2nd. So he missed almost 80 games. So the thing about the Giants this year has been just that 1 through 26 and really 1 through 40 on the 40-man roster, everybody has been able to contribute. So when guys have gone down with injuries, the guys who have come in to fill in have done a really good job. Lamont Wade Jr. is an example of that. Darren Ruff, Steven Duggar, Donovan Solano, Wilmer Flores, they're just really deep. And they've also been without Brandon Belt, who just came back as well. So they've had a lot of injuries, but they haven't missed a beat, but they're finally getting healthy. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, and then they added Chris Bryant too, right? So it's kind of crazy the talent they've accumulated when no one really saw it coming. And I look forward to seeing them at full strength, because they haven't really been at full strength all season. And then you throw Chris Bryant into the mix also. And it's exciting from a Giants fan's perspective.
Well, I'm happy for you, Ben. I'm happy it's an exciting time. You're having a magical season. It just sounds like fairies and bunnies right now. So I'm very happy.
It's been a while, right? The Giants have been struggling for the last 5 years. So I get it. They had the success in the 2010, 12, and 14.
Yeah. Only 3 World Series.
Only
last
3.
12. Yeah.
We wanted 4. I mean, 2016, it would have kept the even year thing going. Giants were in the playoffs, and then a bad bullpen, actually. is what cost them. They gave up 4 runs to the Cubs in the 9th inning of a playoff game in which they had a three run 9th inning lead. So that stung. But yeah, I mean, Giants fans are a little bit spoiled, but it has been a while since they've had any kind of success.
Yeah, it's like the Lakers. They won all those championships, and then they were in the tanker the last 7 years. But now they're back in the postseason. They got LeBron. I guess the Giants got their own LeBron. Probably not as good. But Chris Bryant, he's there on the San Francisco Giants roster, and I absolutely love that move. Obviously, he's a stud and MVP candidate, but I love the move because the Giants, like we've been talking a lot during our crossovers, Ben, they were kind of just like a land of misfit toys, a lot of, complementary pieces, but no true superstar in the middle of that lineup. And then you add a Chris Bryant. I felt like that was the perfect piece, the missing piece to what they needed. And now you have all these nice pieces like a Crawford, a Posey, a Yastrzemski that are all having like really good seasons. Yastrzemski not as good, but Posey and Crawford having basically career years. Now you put a Chris Bryant in the middle of the lineup. Like, how much of a difference do you think that makes to this Giants team?
I really do think it makes a big difference. It's easy to say, it's a little cliche to say, but it makes a huge difference. And I think we saw that today as a perfect example. I mean, he carried them to this win. He led off that 9th inning today with a ringing double that just kind of woke everybody up in that Giants dugout. And then once they tied the game, he actually led off the 10th inning as well. And he also hit a double that scored that go-ahead run, put himself in a good position to score. He didn't end up scoring, but it's huge. And I agree with you 100%. Like, they are the land of misfit toys a little bit. Posey and Crawford having star level seasons, but they're kind of, older and past their prime, you would think, although not performing like it. But to add a 29-year-old Chris Bryant just changes things a little bit from a, they go from maybe a fairy tale kind of Cinderella story to actually giving them like, hey, we are legit. We are for real. We are going for this. We're not just some team that's on a magic carpet ride. We are good, and we're here to win some games. And I just think also it plays into the possibility of bringing him back in future years. I think whenever you bring in a player like this, it increases your chances of re-signing that player. And I think that there is mutual interest. It's basically been a love fest on both sides. He says he grew up a Barry Bonds fan, grew up a Giants fan. He's from Las Vegas. His parents were in town for this series because it's obviously close to Phoenix, relatively close. But anyway, I think it's going to be huge, and it remains to be seen exactly what the impact will be. But so far, I mean, it's been a big impact. And he moves around. He moves around the field. So that plays into what the Giants do also. They're so versatile. Today, he started in center field. Later was at third base. And he's also played corner outfield with the Giants so far. So it helps because they have a lot of moving parts. So he's a rare superstar who can move all around the diamond. It is pretty unusual. And he's able to do it. All right, that is all the time we have for today. I really hope you enjoyed this part of my conversation with Millard Thomas from Locked On D-backs. Coming up tomorrow, the Giants are in Milwaukee to take on a really good Brewers team, and they're going to face some good pitching in this series. That's kind of the name of the game for the Brewers. However, they are dealing with some COVID issues. They don't have Josh Hader. They currently don't have Christian Yelich and others, so that's something to look out for. Coming up tomorrow, I'm probably going to air the rest of this conversation with Millard, and then coming up on Monday, we'll be back with 3 things we learned this weekend with the San Francisco Giants. Big series in Milwaukee, and then they'll be coming home after that. So anyway, if you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much, so thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. Stay locked on Giants.
This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Have you ever listened to a podcast like this one and you wanted to bring up your own point or just chat with other people that are listening at the same time? Well, let me tell you about Spotify Green Room. This is the first social audio platform made just for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you're in, you can talk with us, other fans, athletes, insiders in real time about your favorite sport or team. Download the app, currently available on iOS devices. create a profile, link your Twitter, join one of the groups for the latest league updates, and then you'll see us there. Spotify Green Room, changing the way we talk sports.